seventh grade advanced class. Let's knock this out. I got 4-2. I'll be doing all the odd ones, of course. Draw a triangle with the given side lengths, if it's possible. Is this possible? If I have a length of 1 inch and 4 inch, can I go ahead and make one if I have 1 inch, 3 inch, and 4 inch? Can I make a triangle if 1 inch and 3 inch make 4 inch? I'm going to go with a hard no on that one, because if I have one that is 1 inch, let's just draw it over here, and I have one that is 3 inch and I put it right next to it, the one that is 4 inch, it would lie right on top of it. There would not be a way to make an angle. So in that regard, no, I cannot go ahead and make a triangle with those given lengths. So I'm going to say no, because 1 inch and 3 inch equals 4 inch. This triangle is not possible to draw. You have number 4 to do. Okay, so just draw it out. Make sure that you write down what is the length of each side. All right, next is number 3. Solve the inequality, graph the solution. If I'm going to solve this inequality, I'm going to remember that I need to get y by itself. I will have to do whatever the opposite is here. So if I see this is -8 being multiplied to y, I'm going to divide -8 away, because the opposite of multiplying -8 to y is dividing it away. Whatever I divide from one side, I divide from the other. 40 divided by -8 is going to give me a -5. On top of that, because I'm dividing by a negative number, my symbol will be turned in the other direction, and then I have y is bigger or equal to -5. When I make a graph, my graph is going to have -5 in there. It will have a dot, not a circle, because this has a line under it. Since y is bigger, that means I'll point to all the numbers that are bigger. All right? And that's what it should look like, my answers. So let's see if I get those answers. Remember, y is greater than or equal to -5. Well, let's see what I get here. Y is greater than or equal to -5. Like I said, I'll divide the -8 away. I'll have -5 and then all the numbers that are bigger. All right, number 5. On this one, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplying 1 over 3. That's going to be multiply 3 over 1 to this. Whatever I multiply to one side, I'll multiply to the other. 3 over 1 is really 3, and 2.5 times 3 is going to give me 7.5. So x will be greater than or equal to 7.5. I did not multiply or divide by a negative number, so I do not move my symbol around. X is bigger, so I will point to all the numbers bigger than 7.5. Number 6 is for you to do. Number 7, it says the diagram shows a pair of adjacent angles and vertical angles. Which pair of angles are vertical angles? Well, vertical angles are angles on our opposite side of each other when two lines cross. So I'm going to say BAC is vertical to EAD. I'm also going to say that BAE is vertical to CAD. All right, so angles BAC, that's this angle here, and EAD, this angle here, and then we'll also have BAE and CAD. All vertical angles are opposite angles formed by the intersection of two lines. All right, let's go to number 9. You have number 8 to do. Name a pair of complementary angles. Complementary angles are angles that will equal 90 degrees. Well, I know if DAE is 90 degrees, and this is a straight line, then DAB is also 90 degrees, which means that DAC and CAB come together to make complementary angles. I think those are the only complementary angles here, so I'm going to go with BAC and CAD. BAC and CAD are complementary angles. Number 11 says name a pair of vertical angles. Vertical angles are angles that are opposite each other. The only angles that are opposite each other that equal each other are CAB and FAE. I could also say that CAE and BAF are also vertical angles, but I'm worried that they're going to say this DA line here is going to mess that up. So my first answer is BAC is vertical to EAF, and then possibly BAF to CAE. Well, it looks like BAC, just like I said, and EAF are vertical. They left this one out because they figured this line intersecting, I guess, made it too hard for you to visualize that one. All right, number 12 is yours, number 13 is mine. Tell whether the adjacent, or tell whether the angles are adjacent, vertical, or neither. Okay, so are these angles adjacent, vertical, or neither? Well, they're not adjacent to each other because this 95-degree angle does not share a line with the 60-degree angle. They're not vertical because vertical means they would be opposite of two lines, the opposite angle of two lines intersecting. And this is three different lines here, one here, and one here. So I'm going to go with neither for 13. The angles are neither adjacent nor vertical. The angles do not share a common side, which would make them adjacent, nor are they opposite angles formed by two intersecting lines, which would be vertical. Number 15, I'm going to say these are vertical angles. They're opposite of each other after two lines cross each other. Because the angles are opposite angles formed by intersection of two straight lines, they are vertical. All right, 16 is yours to do, and now 17 is mine. Tell whether the angles are complementary, supplementary, or neither. Well, 48 and 42 do make 90. So I'm going to say these two are complementary angles. Because 42 and 98 equal 90, the angles are complementary. All right, let's keep moving on. I have 19. Says you be the teacher. A friend names a pair of supplementary angles. Is your friend correct? Supplementary angles are two angles that equal 180 degrees. So this is saying LMN, LMN, and PMQ. PMQ are supplementary angles. That's absolutely wrong. LMN and PMQ do not make 180 degrees. So I'm going to say no. Your friend is not correct. L and Q is a straight line. Okay. By removing NMP and MP, the remaining two lines, which are LMN and PMQ, have a sum of 90 degrees. I know that because this is 90 degrees here. So if this is 180, this would be 180 minus 90. Okay? So are they supplementary angles? No. They are, in fact, complementary angles because they will equal 90 degrees. Number 21 is mine. Classify the pair of angles and find the value of x. Well, I'm going to say this is vertical, and this must be 180 because these are two lines crossing, and they are opposite. These angles are opposite each other. Vertical and 128 degrees. 21 and 22 are yours to do. 23. Well, what will this be? 75 is over here, and 4x minus 25 is here. This is just a setup for an equation. This equation is 75. Remember, these are vertical angles, so they equal each other. It's going to be equal to 4x minus 25. And if I'm going to do this correctly, I'll have to add 25 to this side. Remember, I'm following PEMDAS backwards, so I'm going to find the addition and subtraction, deal with it first, which means I'll add 25 to this side. 75 and 25 are 100. Now I have 100 equals 4x. That's pretty easy because I know I'm going to, if 4 is being multiplied to x, to the opposite means to divide it by 4. That's going to give me 25 equals x. So I know that x is 25. And that makes sense because 4 times 25 is 100. 100 minus 25 is 75. So yeah, I'm going to go with x is 25. And it is vertical. All right, next is number 25 here. It says 7x and x plus 20. Well, I see that these lines are residing, these angles reside on a straight line. So that means they have to equal 180. So I can put this to 7x plus x plus 20 have to equal 180. Now, when I do this, I'm going to realize that I have 8x over here. And I'm also going to realize that I have to subtract 20 from this side in order to isolate that x. Whatever I subtract from one side, subtract from the other. Now I have 8x is going to be equal to 160. And I know I'll have to get 8 away from x. Since it's being multiplied to x, I will divide it away, which means I'll divide 160 by 8, and x has to equal 20. So these are supplementary lines, and x equals 20. That's my answer. Supplementary, 20. 27 is mine. These two angles form complementary angles, which means angles that equal 90 degrees. So this is going to be x, which I find right here, right? And then I'm going to take this and add it to it. So plus x minus 20. And all this has to equal 90 degrees. Well, x plus x is 2x. And I know to get my x isolated, I have to get rid of this negative 20. So I'll use a positive 20 to get rid of it. Whatever I add to one side, I know I have to add to the other. Now I have 2x is equal to, well, 90 plus 20 is 110. And now I realize I'm going to have to divide 2x by 2 to get x by itself, which means I'll divide 110 by 2. And of course, this is going to give me, I'm going with 55. So x is 55, and these are complementary angles. Complementary, 55. Let's go to number 29. What is the measure of each angle formed by the intersection? Well, if this is 50 degrees, that's all I need to know what all the rest of these are. If this is 50, the vertical angle across it must be 50 as well. And if this is 50 and this is a straight line, I know this must equal 180. So 180 minus 50 is 130. So 1 is 130, 2 is 50, and if 1 is 130, well, it's vertical to 3, so 3 must be 130 as well. So the measure of angle 1 is 130. The measure of angle 2 is 50. The measure of angle 3 is 130. Okay? Angle 2 is a vertical angle to 50. 1 and 2 are supplementary angles, and 1 and 3 are vertical angles, just like I discussed. All right, let's leave number 30 is yours to do, so I'm going on to number 31. 31 says the iron cross is a ski trick in which the tips of the skis are crossed while the skier is airborne. Find the value of x in the iron cross shown. Well, if this is 127 and this is 2x plus 41, these are vertical to each other, which means they have to equal each other. If I were to solve this, I would say I have 127 has to be equal to 2x plus 41. Well, to isolate x, I need to get rid of this plus 41 by subtracting 41 from it. Whatever I subtract from one side, I subtract from the other. Now 2x comes down, so does my equal sign. 7 minus 1 is 6. 12 minus 4 is 8. And now I divide 86 by 2 because I need to separate 2 that is being multiplied to x. The only way to do that is to divide two away. And x has to equal, well, half of 46 sounds like 43 to me. All right, so the answer to number 31 must be 43. $127 equals 2x plus 41. They subtracted 41. They got 86, just like I did. They divided 2x by 2. They got 43, just like I did, so that's just 43. And they are vertical. Number 32 is yours, Jude. Number 33 is mine. Find all the angle measures in the diagram. Wow, this is going to be something. Okay, I know this is 75. This is x, and this is 3x plus 5. Remember, all these together have to equal 180. So I can say that I'm going to have, I'm just going to do the work over here, since you guys have to do the evens, that 3x plus 5 plus 75 plus x all have to equal 180. If I do this, I realize that I can add 75 and 5, and that's going to make 80. I can also add 3x plus x. That's going to make 4x. Now I can say that I've got to isolate my variable, so I'm going to deal with this positive 80 first by taking it away. Whatever I subtract from one side, I subtract from the other. This gives me 4x equals 100. That sounds real familiar, like another problem we have. I'll divide 4 away from 4x, which means I'll divide 100 by 4. And x has to equal 25. But that's not what it asks us. It asks us to find all the angles. We already knew this was 75, and we know now that this is 25. And we know that this is 3 times 25, which is 75 plus 5. And that equals 80. So 80, 75, and 25 are angles. Let's check and see how I did. The measure of MJN is 25. The measure of MJL is 75. That was given. And the angle of KJL, that's 3 times 25 plus 5, which is 80. All right, let's move on. I got number 35, so let's put this over here. Draw a pair of adjacent angles with the given description. Both angles are acute. I need adjacent angles that are acute. Okay. Well, both angles are acute. I'm going to draw something like this because I know acute angles are less than 90 degrees, right? And since it says both angles are acute, I can draw this angle and this angle. I don't even have to show that these are 90 degrees. This is obvious that it is not more than 90 degrees on each one of these, okay? And remember, they're adjacent because they share a line and a point of vertices, okay? Number 36 is yours to do, and 37 is mine. The sum of the angle measured is 135. So it's got to be adjacent, and the angles must be 135. So I'll just make two angles, right, that equal the sum of the angle measures is 135. So this is x, this is 135 minus x. Because I know when I subtract this from this, it's going to equal this, right? All right, number 39 is next for me. If x and y are supplementary angles, then x is acute. And they said copy complete each sentence with always, sometimes, or never. Okay? Always, sometimes, or never. If x and y are supplementary angles, then x is, well, that might be, I would say, Ooh, X is acute. I'm going to go with uh, sometimes, because sometimes X might be the obtuse side of it, right? Or they could both be 90-degree angles. So I would say sometimes. All right, and number 41. If X and Y are complementary angles, then X and Y are adjacent, okay? Um, if X and Y are complementary angles, that means they equal 90 degrees, then X and Y are adjacent. Well, that's not true because two angles don't have to be sharing a line or vertices to equal 90 degrees. So I'm going to say sometimes it could be that way, but doesn't have to be that all the times. Next is number 43. And just to give a tiny bit of better explanation, this was supplementary angles, right? So it's a straight line. As you can see, whether I have a line here, X could be acute, but it could be obtuse. And even if I had it straight up and down, that would make 290 degrees. That would be right angles, not acutes. So yeah, sometimes we're the right answer here. Here for complementary angles, that is two angles that equal 90 degrees. But remember, you could have two angles that are not adjacent, okay, and together, like let's say 45 and 45. Together, they would make 90 degrees, but they are not adjacent. All right, back to number 43. Draw a figure in which uh, angles 1 and angles 2 are acute. Vertices angles, they're acute vertical angles, excuse me. Angle 3 is a right angle adjacent to number angle 2, and the sum of the measures of angle 1 and the measure of angle 4 is 180. Well, here you go. Now, here we got, draw off your number, angle 1 and 2 are acute. 1, okay, and 2 are both acute angles. Obviously, they are not bigger than 90. I know that because right here, this is 90 degrees, right? So let's see. It says here that angle 3 is a right angle. So angle 3 here is a right angle to, let's see, and it's adjacent to angle 2. You see angle 2 here, it shares a line and a vertices. And the sum of measures angle 1 and the measure of angle 4 is 180, where you can see angle 4 is adjacent to angle 1. They reside on this line, so they have to equal 180. Let's go to 44. And that's yours to do. 45 is mine. Consider the figure shown at the left, okay? Use a ruler to extend both rays into lines. What do you notice about the three new angles that are formed? Now remember, we're considering the figure shown on my left. We're going to use a ruler to extend both rays into lines. So if we did that, we'd be extending these lines, crossing each other. What do you notice about the three new angles that are going to be there? Well, all of them are going to be 90 degrees. The two angles are complementary, right? These will be complementary angles. They're also going to be 90-degree angles because if this is 90 degrees, this will have to be 90 degrees. Let's just better illustrate that. If I turn these into lines, right, you see that they're now going to be all complementary angles that share, that are going to be, if that's 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees, right? Right? So two angles are complementary. We're shown to the left, the ruler extends both rays into lines. What do you know? You're right. Okay. I would have actually said that the two angles are now supplementary. It's hard for me to understand what they intend here, so I'm going to cross out number 45. It doesn't count. Not that you had to go past 40 anyways. All right, let's move on. 47. The vanishing point of the picture is represented by point B. All right, the measure of angle ABD, ABD, I'm just going to move this a little bit, okay, is 6.2 times greater than the measure of angle CBD, CBD. All right, find the measure of angle CBD. Okay, well, the two angles make up a straight line, right? Because we got this angle and this angle. So the angles are supplementary, and their sum has to be 180. Let x be the measure of angle CBD, and remember, ABD is 6.2 times greater. So 6.2 times x plus x is going to be equal to 180. I'll put these together, and that gives me, remember, there's going to be a 1 in front of this x, even if I can't see it. So 1 plus 6 would be 7.2. Now, if you divide 7.2x by 7.2, I'm going to show that part here since they didn't illustrate that, which means I'll divide this side by 7.2. 180 divided by 7.2 gives you 25. So the angle CBD is going to be 25. All right, B says here, angle FBE, and EBD are congruent. Yes, they are congruent. They're saying, okay, FBE and EBD are congruent. So they're saying they equal 90 degrees. Wow, that doesn't look like it, but okay. Find the measure of FBE. Okay. Well, I'm going to go a stretch and say that if these two angles are congruent and EBD is congruent with this one, and they look like, let's see, if this is 90 degrees, this has to be 90 degrees. Does that mean this angle is the same measure as this angle? Whew, wow. I'm wondering if they're using this number of 25 and realizing if this is 25, then this has to be 90 minus 25. And I'm just going to go on a hunch here. That's what they're doing. And if this is 90 minus 25, then this has to be, let's see, 5. I would have had to borrow one. This would have to be 65. Okay, because 8 minus 2 is 6. If this is 65 and these two are congruent, which means they equal 180, and they sure don't look like they do, but if they did, 90 minus 65, well, then this would have to be, well, 25. Let's see if I'm even close on that, because the picture should make it look like I am. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, it says congruent. It does not mean complementary. Congruent means they are the same. So if this is 65, this is 65. I'm sorry, I misread the word. Maybe I just misunderstood it. Since these are congruent, whatever this is, this will be over here. So let's see what they came up with. Angles EBD, let's see, EBD, okay, and CBD make up a right angle, okay. Yes, they do. These add up to a right angle. So the angles are complementary, and their sum is 90. They did use that measure of 25 that we found before. So we know some number plus 25 equals 90. That number is going to be, we'll have to subtract 25 from both sides to get y by itself, and that gives us 65. And since they're congruent, that means FBD must also be 65. All right, let's go on to number 49. Two angles are vertical angles. What are their measures if they are also complementary angles or supplementary angles? Wow. Okay. Says two angles are vertical angles. If I'm looking for vertical angles, well, I'm just going to keep it easy here. If two angles are vertical angles, remember this is 90 degrees here, and this is what are their measures? If I'm looking at vertical angles, the only vertical angles I see are going to be here and here. Okay, now you could say here and here, but I'm going to say not. remember this is 90 degrees. Let's just check this out here. What are their measures if they are also complementary angles? So complementary angles, we don't even need to do nothing here. If we have complementary angles, they have to equal 90 degrees, right? And it says, what are the measure if they also are complementary angles? So two angles that are vertical each other that equal 90, well, they have to equal each other, right? So this can't be 90. This has to be, yeah, I'm going to have to redraw this. I thought they were going by this picture over here, but I see in actuality, they're just trying to talk some sense into us. If we have two vertical angles, so we're talking angles like this, and they're saying that this angle plus this angle equal, we add them together, 90, and we know that they're vertical, so they have to equal each other. That means they have to be half of 90, which is 45. All right, and I think that's the last of the problems. The rest were for you to do. Good luck on your homework, and see you in class.